everyone, Black Hat Loner here, and welcome to 2024. Yes, I know we're almost 4 months into the year already, but this is actually my first podcast for the year. Also, welcome to the debut episode of the brand new One Lone Cat podcast, which can now be found on the Spotify podcast channel that formerly housed Movies to Go with Black Hat Loner, my all too short-lived podcast where I reviewed movies. This podcast will pretty much be whatever I want. I know the last 2 episodes of my other podcast show, Tales of the Black Cat, was basically whatever I wanted, even though my original plan for that series was for it to be a fictional podcast, but switched to the whatever I want format. At first I thought that I wasn't going to be able to do the fictional podcast format, but since this year has been crazy for me and my circumstances have somewhat changed, I decided to give Tales of the Black Cat another go as a fictional podcast. I'll explain why in a minute. As far as today goes, we've got some things to talk about, like what's been going on so far this year, and today we're going to be taking a little trip into my past and talk about something that has been a major influence on my online life. And also today I will be doing a look back at my time on YouTube, as well as show you another element of my early years on the site. I figure I'd kick off the new podcast by recapping everything that happened in the end of the last episode of Tales of the Black Cat. Not too much happened in the last couple weeks of 2023, apart from some of the year in review stats I alluded to last episode. The last couple weeks I basically just hung around. I was getting the last episode of Tales of the Black Cat up just as the VTuber Awards was starting, and I managed to get the episode up in time. And speaking of the VTuber Awards, it was great. Fillion did a great job as host, and the awards show was awesome. The production value was off the charts, and as expected, Project Melody was YouTuber of the Year. I watched the whole thing from Melody's end, and I was on her stream up until shortly after Shy Lily won the Just Chatting Streamer Award, because Melody was still super emotional after her win. And then I went over to Fillion's channel to watch the rest. And of course, Iron Mouse swept all 3 categories she was nominated in. Miss VTuber, Most Streamed Event for her subathon, and VTuber of the Year. This happened almost a week after she won Content Creator of the Year at the Game Awards. And then came the Streamer Awards. Unfortunately, I was out of town at the time they held the awards, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I was able to sneak in a little peek at the award show and saw Iron Mouse win for Best VTuber for the 2nd year in a row. Even though I voted for Fillion for Best VTuber and nominated Iron Mouse for Streamer of the Year, so that way we can continue Mousy's total domination of the award circuit. She was also just recently interviewed by Rolling Stone magazine about upcoming games for the year. I'm telling you folks, Mousy is really going places. As far as the plans for this year goes, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really much for making resolutions for New Year's, but as far as New Year's goes, I have to get back into producing content more frequently. Whether it's writing, or the podcast, or making videos, or my newfound hobby, AI art. I also have to continue to make sure I'm okay health-wise. Well, so far so good on that front at least. Apart from my recent hospital visit, and I had to have an operation on my foot, it's diabetic related, and I've been sort of recovering from that lately. It took a bit, but I'm getting there. And yes, my recovery is part of the reason why I have a little more time on my hands to do 2 podcasts. Hence the reason why I've decided to revert Tales of the Black Cat back to its original format as a fictional podcast series. I mean, I'm technically fiction anyways, so the last 2 episodes of Tales will stay in continuity with this podcast. And as to why I decided to put this podcast on the Movies to Go Spotify page? Well, I mean, no sense in letting my Movies to Go podcast Spotify channel go to waste. And also during my downtime, I was able to finally binge watch the new Ted series on Peacock. Remember when I talked about the teaser trailer in episode 2 of Tales of the Black Cat? I gotta tell you, the new Ted series is really hilarious, and the hype was well worth it. In fact, I think the show was actually better than the movies, and I like the first Ted movie. The second one was kinda but you'd probably like it if you hadn't seen Family Guy before, because one of the major criticisms of Ted 2 was a lot of the jokes were recycled from Family Guy. And all I can say about the new Ted series is that we need season 2. Like now, Seth MacFarlane, if you're listening to this podcast. Anyway, shortly before I had to be sidelined for my health issues, I discovered AI writing and how it can help me come up with story ideas surrounding certain titles. And one of the short story ideas I came up with the assist of AI, is a story about a private detective in the vein of the old Pulp Fiction noir novels. As a matter of fact, it helped me to come up with a plot for 2 novels surrounding the character. And I'm happy to report I'm working on right now. In addition to my short story compilation I alluded to in episode 2 of Tales of the Black Cat, I also did a short story with the character who is named Max Malone, and his adventures are set in the fictional city of Noirville. The first novel I'm working on is called Shadows of Deceit, and hopefully I'll have that done soon. I can't give out too many details or a release date because, as I said in episode 2 of Tales of the Black Cat, if I set a date in stone, I usually end up jinxing myself. And now I do have a story ready about one hobby I had growing up, and it was one I maintained throughout high school. I figured that since it's been a very slow month, that I would talk about a hobby that I had growing up. I feel like I'm living a double life with my life online and offline, which consists of work and not much else. Here I can be myself without any limits. In short, I feel like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. Whoa. Today I'm talking about how I collected comic books during my late junior high and high school years. I started collecting in 1992, but before that time, I bought a comic here and there. To this day, I still have a lot of my old comics from that time period, even though I don't have many that are in good enough condition to be worth anything. I mainly collected Spider-Man comics because he's my all-time favorite comic book superhero. He had these amazing abilities, and yet he was imperfect. He had job troubles, trouble paying the rent, girl troubles, even though he was married to Mary Jane at the time I was collecting. You name it, and he still had to go out and fight the bad guys. Kinda like your friendly neighborhood Black Cat Loner. The Spider-Man comics made up a majority of my comic book collection along with Batman. I started collecting Batman during the Nightfall saga, where Batman got his back broken by Bane and then had to be replaced with another Batman with a cooler looking costume. I continued collecting all throughout high school because the stories were all too closely knit together and had a real feel to them. During that time, I made comic collecting part of my routine and attended comic book shows at my nearby mall, and it lasted until the store where I collected comics stopped carrying them, which was very early in my senior year of high school. It was somewhat hard for me to give that up, but at the time I got into writing, and I was in the midst of writing my first novel, which I never published. If you followed me a long time, you would know that I originally wanted to be a writer before the internet. And of course, I watched comic book movies at the movies like everyone else, at least up until 2018. And that's because going to the movies has gotten so expensive in recent years. In fact, the last movie I saw in theaters was a comic book movie, Deadpool 2. I also watched movies on DVD and most recently streaming sites. Since COVID and also since movies have gotten expensive, I have become an advocate for buying movies on digital, which costs as much as actually going to the movies. And also has the advantage of people who don't want to go to the movies to see the latest movies, and probably also don't want to sit in a theater, especially after, COVID. And one more impact that comics have had on me is that it influenced my online activities, namely my life as Black Cat Loner. And it also influenced my writing style as far as my short stories, videos, and podcasts go. At least the old school comics were an influence, not the modern comic style. And so this ends another trip down memory lane into the mysterious past of the online superhero known as Black Cat Loner. What will he do next? Find out next time, as Stan Lee would say, true believers. As you already know if you have been following me long time, I have been on YouTube and active in social media content creating for almost 2 decades. Also, as you know, I never actually planned to do YouTube, but rather just stick to writing. And also, I never planned to do movie reviews and other things for videos. But you know, fate always finds a way. Also, in what I like to call the golden age of YouTube, which was the period from its launch in 2005 until almost 2012, YouTube was widely known for smaller videos, most notably cat videos. So when I first decided to upload videos to YouTube in late 2007, first video uploaded in January 2008, I decided to start with cat photo montages, which consisted mainly of cat memes I found all over the internet. The editing on the videos I've recorded were not the greatest because the site I went through to edit the videos, being I didn't have internet at my house, was through a site called onetruemedia.com, a site that no longer exists, so all my original cat montage videos are gone forever. And I had removed all the original cat montage videos from YouTube during my brief stint as a partner from 2012 to 2018 because I couldn't monetize the montages. Part of that was because the One True Media site allowed its users to use copyrighted music, which is a shame really because one of those cat montage videos, before I had to yeet it from YouTube, was my first video to break 10,000 views. A milestone I came close to recreating one other time before I had to delete that video, along with the rest of my original back catalog in 2019. However, I managed to salvage 2 of those original montages, including the one that broke 10,000 views, into one video compilation that I am now going to share with you, basically as a way to show you how I started. But before I play it, I just want to say that if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you probably won't be able to see the montage, but at least you'll get to enjoy some cool Kevin MacLeod music in the background. So enough said, hope you enjoy it. And now that I got that out of the way, I have decided to edit a little compilation of clips from nearly all of my videos and shorts that I have uploaded to YouTube. This one will actually be a little longer because it is a compilation of the first two Best of Black Cat Loner clip videos that I've uploaded, as well as some new clips that was going to be in a third video, but I decided why not do them all at once? So anyway, hope you enjoy it. Whoa. This is gonna be cool. War. War never changes. We live in a society in chaos, and attempts to stifle content creators' ability to express themselves. But in the midst of the chaos and insanity that is modern society, you can still rely on one cat. You're expecting someone else? Summing this up, the acting sucks, the effects suck, the story sucks, the directing sucks. No fucking redeemable value at all. Now I have searched for a reason why I should not hate this movie. And I've searched for a reason to prove all of the critics wrong. And you know what? All the critics are right! This movie sucks!
Maybe I'll fight a bottle and maybe I won't, you know? Yo, Adrian, it's the Rocky retrospective, you know?
And black cats are considered mysterious. I know what you're thinking. Black cats are associated with witches and bad luck. For one thing, racist. Also, black cats have been known to represent good luck to people in some cultures, and they're also very loyal. But enough about me. And guys, if this has happened to you, you should know by now there is no escape from the friend zone. The only one who actually finds that thing attractive is her aerobics instructor, played by Marlon Wayans. Marlon, come here a minute. Come here. Where's your dignity? Now, there is a term for that type of behavior that I can't think of right off the top of my head right now. Gee, what is that? What the fuck is wrong with this movie?
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
Yes, folks, that old Chinese proverb rings true. May you live in interesting times. Kids these days. But if you grew up during the 80s and 90s and remember a lot of the stuff I mentioned here today, then your childhood was awesome. And you know what? They're going to be in the same hotel as well, because they end up sharing a room together. Oh, I predict there's a sex scene coming up. But to be fair, Chalice at first seems to be a gentleman about it, and by offering to sleep in the car, but when Ellie asks Dr. Chalice where he wants to sleep, he decides that being a gentleman is for losers and makes out with her. Yep, definitely gonna be a sex scene. They are so dead. And just when you think that this movie will end up with a traditional romantic movie happy ending, that the nice guy's finally gonna get the girl and live happily ever after, he opens the door to the kitchen and sees his beloved Karen making out with Rick the Dick. What the fuck, movie? Is this movie for kids? Contrary to the fact that this movie carries a PG rating and is aimed at kids, I would have to say no fucking way. No kid should see this movie. It's too dark, too mean-spirited, gross, beyond what is acceptable, violent, and above all else, it's fucking stupid, stupid, stupid! If you're thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit theshelterpetproject.org. And tell them a cartoon black cat on the internet sent you. Alright, in the meantime, I gotta run this through the computer. Sorry, Gary, but the computer says you're a dead fuck. A lousy lay. Computer don't lie. But hey, chin up! At least you can take comfort knowing that you'll be killed by Jason Voorhees 2 years later in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And no, you don't get any there either. Today's movies are way less original and way more dumbed down than the movies my generation grew up with. Of course, there are some exceptions like the Marvel movies and of course The Force Awakens. Apparently my praise for Marvel and Star Wars in the years since I posted the Kids These Days video has not aged all that well. But these days it's all fake, CGI destruction, porn fests, horrible comedies, shitty love stories like Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, and any movie based on a Nicholas Sparks novel. And don't get me started about the endless barrage of remakes and reboots, even of movies that don't need it. But anyway, I would like to welcome you to the Black Hat Book Club, for those of you who think I can't read. And I'm hoping to showcase some pretty good books, which means you won't see anything written by Stephanie Meyer, and you will also not see 50 Shades of Grey on here. Now, I've read that book, and it's as bad as you expect. So guys, if you feel you have to read it, approach it as you would a movie like Showgirls. Just skip to the sex. Oh yeah, and one more thing.
Yo, Adrian! We did it!
So there's nothing else to say except this movie is the biggest and most offensive, racist, stupid, disgusting, mean-spirited, irreverent, hopeless, shameless, pig-headed, vomit-inducing, worm-headed piece of crap I've ever seen in my life. Avoid it like the plague. If you have this movie on DVD, destroy it. Kill it before it multiplies. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Now how you doing, bitch? Where's the Tylenol?
Well, if you have diabetes,
be sure to check your blood sugar, and check it often. And don't forget to eat your oatmeal, you son of a bitch.
major cold symptoms like sniffles, sneezes,
NyQuil
nasal
will help
congestion,
you get
scratchy
your
throat, and
Z's.
coughing for hours to help
Get the
you
fuck
get a
out of
good
my
night's
bed.
sleep. NyQuil, the most unique nighttime colds medication ever developed by Vicks.
Notice, NyQuil is not to be used when cooking chicken. TikTokers don't know what they're talking about.
Don't you like the cereal? Oh, yeah. But it's a little mushy.
Next time, don't put milk in it, genius. Now shut your hole before I kick you right in your breakfast buddies.
Sure.
Hot chick on a motorcycle's checking me out, and I've got a boner, but I'm still bored. Oh wow, a surfing waiter. That's probably the highlight of my whole day. Yes, finally I'm having an exciting day. Thanks, alcohol. Superman Returns was kind of a mixed bag for me. Brandon Routh was great filling Christopher Reeve's shoes in the title role. I mean, there were some good action scenes like the scene where he saves the jet. And Kevin Spacey was great as Lex. But let's face it, the tone of the movie was depressing. It's like the writers didn't know what to do with Superman. So basically they made him a toss-up between Super Stalker or Super Jesus. Plus Kate Bosworth. Worst Lois Lane ever. Yeah, beat the shit out of him. Die, you motherfucker. Bah, cheaters. They took a dive. They threw the fight. Well, folks, didn't expect to do this short so soon, but since today is National Batman Day, let's take a quick look at the one Batman movie that many fans consider to be the best overall Batman movie ever. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. Not to be confused with the best live-action Batman movie ever. That honor belongs to The Dark Knight. But as far as faithfulness to the source material goes, this is the best. Oh, wow. A sexy flamenco dancer. And I've got a boner, but I'm still bored. I'm the flying waiter, Utah sector. Right on target, sir. And here's your alcohol to liven up your boring day.
In the dough and
Having a heart attack there, Mario? Ah! Creepy toy bear! Ah! 10 seconds in and I feel like I'm being tortured.
Merry Christmas! It's a joy to serve Wilkins coffee to so many people at Christmas.
It's a joy to you. You're not pulling the sled.
'Tis the season for an early prototype of the Muppets to hawk a coffee that doesn't exist. Fa la 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 la.
With this camera, I shoot pictures of people who don't drink Wilkins coffee.
I'm ready. Shoot.
Anybody else?
Man, Kermit was a sadistic motherfucker, wasn't he? Well, anyway, Wilkins Coffee is now owned by Maxwell House, so there's no chance that Kermit the Frog will ever get an endorsement deal for Maxwell House ever again. But seriously, those murderous tendencies. I'd hate to be Miss Piggy right about now. I'm sure somewhere in the 80s someone had a kid brother that used to scream every time this commercial came on.
Ambushed by evil sectors. With the help of his loyal insectoid Dragonflyer, he fights them off. But they're just bait for the real trap. A far more treacherous enemy is waiting.
Sorry, Dargon. I forgot the lube. Meh, meh, ha 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 ha.
Watch the next episode of
Economy size can of Raid sold separately. Wait, what was that? Floating heads? Wait, what the fuck am I watching? Am I watching the cameraman's bad LSD trip? Val Kilmer is a very underrated Batman and, goofy smile aside, he has some decent fight scenes both in and out of costume, and it's probably the last time in live action until the Pattinson movie that we get to see Batman be a detective. Don't get any ideas, guys, she's 12.
FBI, open up!
Oh, don't mind me. I'm here for the cat souffle. Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, destined to become the greatest video game of all time. See, 40 years ago, Santa was like, fuck Cole. These kids were naughty this year. Give them the E.T. Atari game.
You help E.T. get home just in time for Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you little bastards. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Black Cat. So anyway, Super Mario Bros. Animated movie coming out April 7th of next year. Saw my trailer reaction, and now if you'll excuse me, I have to try and upload this to YouTube.
A few moments later. Yes! Tobey Maguire is silently judging you. Mwah!
a video game from Parker Brothers, the ones to beat.
Awesome! Now I got a hat made out of Tobey Maguire's head. Oh boy, I'm sitting in the middle of a bullfight, but I don't give a shit. I'm so bored. Olay! Boo! Hello, Senor Boring Guy. I'm sorry my bull attacked you. Here's your alcohol. Next time, can I suggest you get a fucking hobby? Next time, kill him, bull. Before the dark times. Before Kathleen Kennedy.
TIE fighters! Fireballs! Coming right at me! Watch the laser towers! Aim for the
Fun fact, this is how Leonardo DiCaprio prepared for his role in Wolf of Wall Street. Easy, dude, you're not having sex. Man, that Star Wars Atari game is one hell of a drug. Although lumped in with the worst movies of 1987, Who's That Girl is actually harmless, dumb fun. In short, it's no Superman 4, and it is especially no Garbage Pail Kids. And it is definitely not those god-awful 50 Shades of Grey sequels the same director would go on to direct years later. Also, follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/blackhatloner1, where I also post updates there, as well as some of the shorts I post to YouTube. Not to mention some nice pics, too. I mean, I gotta do something besides click like on a lot of Insta models. I actually got into VTubers after seeing a news article about a virtual cam girl who streamed on an adult website. I can't say the name of the site, and don't ask me to link it either, otherwise the YouTube algorithm will have me for lunch. But the site's initials are CB, and it was infuriating IRL cam girls. I'm like, wow, this is the future. And one of the memes associated with said virtual cam girl is, "The future is now." Of course, I'm talking about Project Melody, the first VTuber I ever watched. Here's Black Hat. The end would have had Superman marrying Supergirl, despite the fact that they're actually first cousins in the comics.
Hey, Black Cat. Sorry to interrupt, but did you know that the teaser poster for the new Ghostbusters movie just dropped on Twitter?
You mean the one where it looks like Mr. Freeze is the main villain? Sure did. And shared it on Twitter, too. Also saw a set pic with Walter Peck being on set.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. After almost 40 years, that man still has no dick. In short, Webster is just a bored billionaire who wants to, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
I just recently started watching Fillion, partly because her all-too-frequent collabs with Melody finally persuaded me to watch her. One thing I discovered while I'm at work on breaks and lunches where I'm watching VTubers is that not many people know Melody and Ironhouse, but for some reason everybody knows Fillion. And now a public service announcement from an extinct toy store company. Oh boy, looks like them Duke boys are a little tipsy there.
When you drive during the holidays, we at KB Toy Stores would like to remind you.
Jimmy, what have I told you about knocking your toys all over the floor? But Mom, I'm filming a drunk driving PSA for KB Toys. I don't care, pick your toys up right now, young man. You're grounded till you're 50. Oh, here we go. Let's go! Fillion. Everybody, meet Minion. Isn't she adorable?
A taste of something twisted.
Okay.
Where do you think you're going?
Goddamn stupid kid.
Yeah, say your prayers, Buggy.
Die, you little brat!
Another taste of something twisted. New slice with a
See, if
refreshing
God were
twist.
like the God in this commercial, I'd worship him. Before we begin this week's episode, I just want to give a quick shout out to Iron Mouse for winning Content Creator of the Year at the Game Awards last week.
Congratulations, Iron Mouse. You deserve the success you've had this year.
Amen, Galena. She's had a really good year. First up, she won VTuber of the Year at the Streamer Awards, and she's received numerous nominations throughout the year. Plus, like I mentioned last week, she's not only one of the most watched Western VTubers on Twitch, she's also one of the most watched female streamers on Twitch. In short, she's kind of the new queen of Twitch. Still surprised that Kirk is still alive, Khan beams up the Genesis device and condemns Kirk and company to be marooned on Regula, as Kirk had condemned Khan and company to be marooned on their planet, which wound up killing his wife, Lieutenant Ivers from the Space Heat episode, and several of his followers. That, of course, is followed by the most famous scene in the movie. You can check out Galena's pics at instagram.com/GalenaCatAI. I figured that since AI model influencers are on the rise that I would get in on it.
Those AI programs have a great attention to detail. It's like you have created a body for me out of thin air.
I know, right? There's some progress on that front at least. I figure I'd give you brown hair and brown eyes, mainly because that's my definition of the perfect woman. Doesn't she look good with her AI cat ears? And of course the handsome black cat in the middle is me, and I think it turned out really good.
Can you show some of my pics on here?
I think I can show at least a couple wholesome pics on here. Like for example, here's our little Thanksgiving portrait that I put on my Instagram Thanksgiving morning. By the way, my Instagram is BlackCatLoner1. I created the pic on a site I started using recently called Unstability.ai. I really love how detailed the program makes you look. And I think I can probably show this one too. I mean, it's one of your cozy pics, also from Unstability.ai. And you know what? I suppose I'll throw this pic in. And the purpose of this podcast is that I intend to review movies that were released before the current insanity that is modern Hollywood, where movies are not being made to entertain, but rather to push, as my esteemed colleague, the critical drinker, likes to call, the message. And the movie also came out at a time when America was becoming decadent in their ways with a new set of rules, as well as a more blended culture. Gee, does that sound familiar? Because it sounds more like today's world, except today's world is much worse. Go to hell! Okay, we're back. And I got a quick question. If you live on the East Coast, did you happen to witness an earthquake that happened near New York City last weekend? Well, without doxing myself too much, I live far enough away from New York City, so basically I felt some rumbling near me, but other than that, no damage or anything like that. I mean, it was like 4.8 on the Richter scale or something like that. I mean, we're not California where earthquakes are more common. And for the record, this isn't my first rodeo with earthquakes. I experienced a small quake way back in 2010, and it was pretty much the same scale as this one. And also, to wrap things up here, anybody see the solar eclipse? And also, one more quick update before I go. I have officially created a separate blog site for my short stories surrounding my private detective, Max Malone. It's on Blogger, which was one of the original blog sites where I started my online adventures. This site is officially called From the Files of Max Malone, and the site is at maxmalonefiles.blogspot.com. If you enjoyed the short stories I posted on my original site on WordPress, which ironically I originated on Blogger in 2007, then you'll love this news site. And I guess that's about it for this first installment of One Lone Cat podcast. I highly doubt we'll have any earthquakes or eclipses next week, so you will have to see what happens next. Thanks for tuning in. In the meantime, subscribe to me on YouTube at youtube.com/@blackcatloner1. Follow me on X at x.com/blackcatloner. Follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/blackcatloner1, as well as instagram.com/GalenaCatAI. Until then, thanks for watching and listening and all that good stuff. I'm Black Cat Loner, and I will see you next time. Same Black Cat time, same Black Cat channel.